Hi, just want to give you an explanation of Essential Question 3, version 2 in the fall of 2011. This is one of the choice-based questions. So let's take a look again at what kind of assets we have available to us. We've got 4 assets, A, B, C, and D, and rather than have them arranged so vertically, so we have A, B, C, and D. These are arranged horizontally. So for asset D, it costs you $21 in time period 0, and it gets you $32 in time period 3. I've also already arranged to calculate the present worths for you, so you don't have to do that. And all the internal rates of return are calculated except for A, but that's actually the first question that's down here. These over here are your incremental internal rates of return, and you should really check the wiki on what these things are supposed to mean. So let's get to question 1 first, which is, what is the internal rate of return of asset A? Well, this is one of those questions which is supposed to be fairly simple because it's the analytical solution to those roots. So what's the internal rate, sorry, the interest rate that makes the present worth 0? In this case, what you should be doing is saying, well, look, this thing gets us $30 in time period 4. It cost us $10 in time period 1. And if you raise it to the 1 on n root, so whenever that last time period is right there, that should give you the internal rate of return of this particular asset. This ends up being a fairly large number. I can't remember what it is. It'll be on the next slide. But it's something that's greater than 20, which is the important part to us. And I'll show you that calculation a little bit later on in this video. Now, the second question is at a minimum acceptable rate of return of 10%. And a requirement to provide 12 years of service. And that's actually a really key phrase, because what it means is that you're not looking at asset A all by itself. You're looking at a chain of them. You're looking at an asset A that lasts 4 years, doing that, letting it burn out, buying another one that lasts from year 4 all the way to year 8, buying another one, and then buying one that lasts from year 8 all the way to year 12. So you're doing this chain purchase. And what I'm getting at here is trying to get you to calculate the annual worth of each one of these things and pick the one with the highest annual worth. That gives you the greatest benefit over the 12 years. And so to kind of show you explicitly what's going on, take, for example, asset D right here. Now, asset D, if you want to calculate the annual worth, it gets you a present worth of 15.07, and what you're doing is finding out what the A is. That's what the annual worth is supposed to be. You're taking a present value and stretching it out, and you're stretching it out over the life of the asset, which is 3 years, right there. And that should give you what the annual worth is. Again, I'll show you the actual values that we calculate for each one of the assets on the next page, but the idea is to pick the asset with the highest annual worth, and that should be the one that provides you with this 12 years of service, one that will give you the maximum benefit. Question number 3 is intended to be the easiest one. What it is, it says minimum acceptable rate of return 10, so you know that your present worth calculations here work, and no service requirement. Which asset would you choose? And this is quite simply just the present worth criteria. Well, all the assets are good because they're all positive. So what you need to do then is just pick the asset with the highest present worth, which is asset A. And that's the correct answer to this one. Just say that you've done that because it has the highest present worth, 10.49%. The last question down here says, at a minimum acceptable rate of return of 20%, no service requirement, which asset would you choose? Well, that 20% is key because it means that you can't use this 10% that's right here. Present worth always change when you change the interest rate. And because you don't know the stuff in the middle, you can't calculate present worth. You're stuck using the data that's already there. And what you're looking at here is forcing you to use the internal rate of return criteria. So you got to remember, first thing you do for the internal rate of return criteria, again, I'll kind of blow these little guys up, is that you first eliminate all assets that have internal rates of return that are less than minimum acceptable. Minimum acceptable is 20. And so what you should spot is that for asset D, its internal rate of return is 15, so it's immediately gone. The one for A is greater than 20. Again, I'll show you that in just a little bit, so it's still there. Once you do that, then go ahead and arrange your assets from lowest first cost to the highest first cost. So in this case, you start thinking about, okay, should I purchase asset A, B? Yeah, you should. Then you see if you should upgrade to C. Then you see if whatever choice you make here, you see if you should upgrade to A. So let's start off with asset B, and you check and see, should I upgrade from B to C? And what you do is you check this incremental internal rate of return right here, this BC increment that's right there. And if this is greater than 20, you should upgrade from B to C. It's not, it's minus 6.49%. So clearly C is not such a good choice, and you should stick with B. Then what you do is you check to see if you should upgrade from B to A, and you check this one right here. The matrix is actually symmetric, and you see that this is also less than 20, so it turns out that B is actually the best choice even when the minimum acceptable rate of return is 20. So let's go ahead and look at some of the calculation results on the next page. So here we are back with some calculation results. You can see that when we were calculating the internal rate of return of asset A, it ended up being 31.61%, which is greater than 20. That's why we can include it in question 4. And when we calculated all those annual worths for question 2, it turned out that asset B had the highest annual worth, and so that's the one that we should be choosing for asset 2. The method was a little bit earlier on in the video. The answers that you see here for question 3 just says, hey, pick the big one, and the last bit right over here for question 4, just simply say, hey, follow that criteria, the algorithm that you have, and you should be A-OK. So this should give you a good answer to essential question number 1, version 2 in the fall of 2011.